President Trump arrived in the Netherlands today for the NATO summit. While on his way, he announced that the ceasefire between Israel and Iran is back on track after a phone call with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The turnaround comes hours after the president lashed out at both sides for violating the ceasefire that he announced just the night before. The president says NATO Secretary General congratulated him for decisive action in Iran, saying it was something no one else dared to do. The classified briefings on Iran that were expected for House members today have been postponed. A Senate briefing has been pushed to Thursday. We have been reminded over the last few weeks that the conflict in the Middle East is nothing new, but the decision by the U.S. to take out Iran's nuclear capabilities is. Joining me right now is Assistant Professor of Political Science at the University of Toledo, Joel Voss. So, Joel, we appreciate you spending some time with us this half hour as well. Kind of give me your takeaway from this. And obviously, we talked about the Secretary of General kind of giving Donald Trump an attaboy for what happened.
Well, I would argue that the Secretary General of NATO gave Trump a attaboy to stoke his ego going into a NATO conference, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's more political than kind of anything else. My big takeaway from this.
Let's put it let's frame it this way.
Sure.
Did the U.S. not do something that no other country was going to do?
Outside of Israel, right? So
Right.
Israel, of course, is preemptively
But not
attacked.
to the degree, we've heard again and again, not to the degree that Israel could, right?
Right, yeah, we certainly have bombs that Israel does not have. And these are new bombs that this is the first time we've launched them against someone else.
Right.
So in that sense, it is a gigantic step for the United States.
Talk about your class load as far as in the fall, and if this was playing out as that was happening, how do you tie this into some of your lessons? What is the lesson learned here, especially as we talk about the ceasefire implications?
Yeah, sure. So one of the classes I teach in the fall is American foreign policy. What I would do here is I would look at how the decision was made vis-a-vis like the law of the United States and also theories in foreign policy. And then with things like, will the peace agreement hold or the ceasefire hold, I would teach game theory on that. So things like prisoner's dilemma, the stag hunt, even a game of chicken, right? That helps us explain whether or not these things often work.
When you talk about it being a game, what do you mean by that?
So game theory just says that you can treat any situation, even very complex situations like war, as a game. You have to know who the players are, you have to know what their interests are, and you have to know what the other side's interests are, right? Mm-hmm. And that can help you predict outcomes.
There was no declaration of war with this, and we talked about that before we came out here today. I asked you, is it proactive, is it reactive what the U.S. did?
It's absolutely proactive, yeah. And the big question with that, with international law, is at what point would Iran actually have a weapon, right? So in international law, you're only supposed to attack someone if there's a cocked gun facing you, not if you're scared of them 10, 15, 5 years down the road.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the ceasefire, and I think Melissa asked you in the last half hour, the president said they don't know what they're doing. Neither country, Iran or Israel. I've cleaned that up a little bit. But you're talking about Israel, the size of New Jersey, comparatively speaking, here in the U.S., and, of course, Iran, the size of the state of Alaska. So two very different sizes, two very different populations. So they don't know what they're doing. How did you take that? How did you read that? Why would they know?
Well, they would know because they both have significant intelligence in the region. They both have significant militaries. That's President Trump being upset that Israel and Iran fired after he announced a ceasefire, right? Which makes him look bad. Yeah. That's in essence what that is.
What will you be watching over the next 2 days?
Over the next 2 days, I will look to see if the ceasefire holds. I don't expect it to.
Okay. Joel, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for giving us some insight here this evening. And of course, developing situation we will continue to monitor. We'll bring you the latest updates both on air, online. Check it out at WTOL.com. All right? All right.